All right. It is time for a paragraph number 4. So remember, guys, at the 30-2 level, what you guys are doing is you are, for your assignment number 2, you are analyzing 3 sources, giving me some background to demonstrate you know what's going on, identifying ideologies, linking it to relevant social studies, all that kind of stuff. And then at the end of each individual source paragraph, you're going to tell me what the source suggests is the role of government in society. Okay, what the source, not what you think, but what the source thinks. Now, after you've done that for all 3 sources, what you need to do is start to compose your paragraph number 4. Paragraph number 4 is that second part of the assignment where it says, and considering the sources presented on pages 6 and 7, what do you think should be the role of government in society? So you need to have some very clear statements on what you believe. Those statements which indicate what you believe, those so-called value statements, they will come in the form of statements like I think, I believe, the government should, something like that. So I want you to be aware of those types of word choices when you're doing this. Now, you also have to consider the sources, and you only have to consider one, right? You only have to consider one. So let's have a quick look at the sources. This one should be no big surprise, right? This source is saying that so we have vulnerable people here, right? In this case, we have young children, and this source is suggestive that the role of government is to pass legislation in order to halt the terrible practice of child labor, right? So it's advocating for socialist intervention in the economy, right? In production, in order to stop child labor. Now, let's move on to the second source, and then we'll compose a 4th paragraph together. You can see me compose a 4th paragraph. All right, so I'll just make this a little bit larger here if I can. There we go. So it says, between a rock and a hard place. So you have gas prices, you have food prices, which are typically, right, when they're high, what suffers? Well, you can see it in the middle there. The food bank gets squeezed, right? It's between a rock and a hard place. So when the cost of living is high, gas prices, food prices, and things like that, then food banks feel the pinch. And of course, it's the poor, right? Poor people rely upon food banks in order to supplement their caloric needs. And, I would argue that this is suggestive of a need for government to step in and perhaps regulate food prices and perhaps regulate gas prices in order to ensure that food banks are adequately funded. And then we have the last source. So it says financial assistance provided to single seniors by the Government of Canada in April of 2013. And these are real stats, right? Now, you should note at the bottom, there is a little thing that we should be reading here. It says, note the average income for single Canadians, including seniors, in 2010 was $32,000. So if you make above $15,438, if you have a yearly income of $0, you receive assistance of $15,438. So when you make no money as a senior, the government chips in and gives you $15,000. Now, hopefully you don't have to be a mathematician to figure out that, because there's 12 months in a year. That equates to what, about $1,100? I mean, you could do the math, right? 15,438 divided by 12. I'm going to say it's around $1,100 a month, which isn't very much money. So if you have a yearly income of $3,200, right, it goes to $13,000 and down it goes. If you're a senior that makes over $16,000, you get no income support from the government. Now, I don't know what you guys know about the cost of living in the world today, but $16,000 doesn't cover very much, right? Groceries, heat, gas for your car, medication, which many old people are on. So again, this source is suggestive of a government that needs to perhaps provide more financial assistance to seniors. Let's face it, guys, seniors aren't working anymore, and they are much more dependent upon government services in order to ensure that they have their basic needs met. So this source would suggest that the role of government should be to ensure that seniors have a decent standard of living provided, I would argue, through wealth redistribution. Now, knowing that, you can kind of see a consistent theme of the need for intervention and the need for intervention, and in source 3, the need for intervention. So knowing that, guys, what we're going to do is start to compose our third paragraph, right? So our fourth paragraph, our opinion paragraph. So let's start doing this. So I like to start the fourth paragraph with just a very clear statement. So when it comes to role of government, I believe that the government should not be overly involved in society unless there is a demonstrated need to ensure that people have the necessary protections provided by them to ensure they live a life that is, what's a term we could use here? A life that is secure. As a moderate, so I'm giving my ideological persuasion now, as a moderate who sees a need for government in some areas, but who also believes that too much government can be detrimental, I want to see people work hard and be protected from unnecessary struggle. All right, so that is my statement, right? When it comes to role of government, I believe, so I have a value statement. I want you to do that. I believe that the government should not be overly involved in society unless there is a demonstrated need to ensure that people have the necessary protections provided to them to ensure they live a life that is secure. Now, so this idea of government stepping in when necessary, I'm going to integrate this into my source 1, source 2, source 3. When it comes to source, I'll capitalize it, source 1, I believe that it is necessary to have some regulations on production within the capitalist system. Children should never face exploitation, and hence the government of each nation should have stringent anti-child labor laws to ensure that children are not taken advantage of. These laws should insist, there you go, that children are in school and learning to ensure they are able to contribute to the best of their ability in the future by gaining the necessary skills and knowledge needed in an economy. Boom! That's beautiful. Okay, I'm going to give myself a little bit of love for that one. A little bit of a gold star. Gold heart. Okay, source 2, right? Again, let's continue on with this. When it comes to source, again, I should capitalize it, source 2, I believe. Again, it's a value statement. It's what I think. It's my opinion. That's what I want to see in this. I believe that the government should tax the wealthy more to ensure that necessary social services such as food banks are adequately funded. It is the middle class and also the poor who depend on food banks and other services, and the wealthy in society have the means to contribute a larger proportion of their income to ensure that the middle class and poor are able to provide themselves with food, right? Something like that. And then we'll say lastly, when it comes to source 3, I once again believe that the wealthy in society are getting off too easy when it comes to how much they contribute as far as taxes. Elderly people are an important sector of society, and we need to ensure they are protected and cared for. It is incredibly difficult to make ends meet on such a low income. Okay, so lastly, when it comes to source 3, I once again believe that the wealthy in society are getting off too easy when it comes to how much they contribute as far as taxes. Elderly people are an important sector of society, and we need to ensure that they're protected and cared for. It is incredibly difficult to make ends meet on such low incomes. As a result, if we tax the wealthy more, we will be able to pass on more to our seniors to ensure they are able to provide the things that are necessary, such to themselves, such as food, clothing, shelter, and also medication. Yeah, I believe we can all do more to make society a better place, and those with the means to help create a better world ought to take steps to ensure that less people are suffering and in need. Boom. Okay, now knowing that, typically, I'm just going to full screen this. When we do something like this, it would be double spaced, right? So let me just pop this into double space. And as you can see, guys, like this paragraph takes up roughly an entire page. If I just kind of pull this up here, right? It takes up roughly an entire page. And all I was doing, right, if you look at what I did, I had a statement that just basically is me like putting myself out there, right? Like talking about my ideological perspective and basically having a nice, clear statement on what I believe, right? And it says, I use the term I believe over and over and over again, right? Because that is what I think. And I mentioned the government over and over and over again as well, right? So here's my statement on what I think should be going on in society. And then I talk about it in the context of source 1. And then I talk about it in the context of source 2. And then I talk about it in the context of source 3. That's it. That's it. Right? Pretty simple. So just tell me what you think and tell me why. If you have ideas, explain how they're going to work, right? And I do that here. We need to take care of the elderly better. We can do that through charging a higher tax rate to those who are wealthy. Let's face it, guys, if you make, $15 million a year and you get taxed at 35% instead of 30%, you're probably going to be okay still, right? You're probably going to be okay. And that's the argument that I'm trying to make here. So anywho, that is it for how to write paragraph 4. You should be good to go at this point, right? You should be able to check out the sources, and yeah, guys, like good luck on it. And it should only take you a maximum of 90 minutes, right? Normally we have this entire exercise, paragraph 1, 2, 3, and then 4, take 45 minutes. But of course, in the nanny state, that is the province of Alberta, where you give everybody double time now, you get 90 minutes. Okay, so if you have questions, let me know. I'll help you out. Good luck. Okay, love you guys. Peace. Take it easy.